Welcome to NC Political Tea, the show where North Carolina's political scene gets served piping hot, grassroots style. We're here to shake up the status quo with unapologetically conservative takes and a whole lot of Southern charm. From the halls of Congress to under the dome, we're exposing the deals, the drama, and the dirt that the mainstream media won't touch. Who's fighting for your freedom? Who's selling out to the woke mob? And who's about to get roasted? No fluff, no filters, and absolutely no time for spineless politics. Just bold Republican commentary, sharp analysis, and enough sass to make the left squirm. So grab your sweet tea or something stronger, and let's dive into the hottest headlines and juiciest scandals rocking the Tar Heel State. This is NC Political Tea, where the truth always gets served.
How's it
truth
going?
always gets served. Good.
Yeah.
How are you?
Sometimes it's piping hot. The truth.
I mean, can it be hot enough?
No.
I
mean, I have to say, I do truly love political season, although it seems to be every season. But I mean, I really love candidate season because there's so much going on and there's so much news that comes out, and we get to meet a lot of cool people and expose a lot of losers.
Yeah. Well, I've been on the phone. The thing about political season, I don't know about you, but I'm on the phone probably a good 6 hours a day and all hours.
Yeah, I know. We've worked some late nights lately, and I think it's going to get to be more like that as the primary gets closer.
Yes, I do. But we're going to be talking about some serious issues again. You know, I hesitate to do these stories because it seems like if you've been watching us for long enough, we do them all the time.
Every day.
But it keeps happening. And this is very tragic. So this is Amber Paris, a beautiful little 15-year-old on the right. And this is an illegal who ran her over. And while she was still on life support, the judge in this case, the DA in this case, asked for the charges to be dropped against this guy. This is in Charlotte. So Sarah K. Kidd is the ADA on this case. And Spencer Merriweather is the elected DA in this case. So we've been talking a lot about either the sheriff or judges in Charlotte letting out murderers. Mm-hmm. Now we're talking about the DA.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. He's questionable. We've seen it in the past. You know, he's very willy-nilly though, because he's actually taken a stance on the sheriff, which
he's a politician. He's a politician. Yeah. You know, he plays both sides.
Yeah.
To perfection.
He does. He's a skilled politician for a Democrat. He really is. And he's an operative. You know that he's hanging out with Jeff Jackson and Josh Stein. You can tell.
Well, I mean, any Democrat that's pro-criminal is going to be hanging out with Josh Stein and Roy Cooper, because those are the guys who are the top of the heap as far as criminals having their rights and victims having none.
I would really like to see if he was on that track force with Anita Earls and Josh Stein in some capacity. We need to look into that.
I mean, look, these incidents, the ones we're going to be talking about tonight, again, they're not happening in a vacuum. They're happening. There's a policy environment that's created by elected officials that lets these criminals out. And we're going to talk about tonight specifically the laws, the vetoes, and the enforcement decisions made by Democrats, so you can see what is at stake during this election.
Yeah.
It's going to be your safety is definitely at stake. So while we're talking about policy enforcement decisions, Gary McFadden, who is the
Gary Springer.
Gary Springer, he is the embattled sheriff out of Mecklenburg County. He's got a hearing for removal on Monday.
Listen, the funny part is if you go back and really research how all the corruptness that's gone on in his department, it's not new. It's very, it's been going on for years. And people have talked about him that were really good friends of his who got involved in his office.
Guys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There you go.
So this is what the oversight has done. Actually, the House oversight, whoever's running this account, just great job at trolling this guy. But here's one of his former resource officers that kind of dropped the dime on him and said, what you're saying.
Not only that, he had a woman that was working in a higher level office, and she ripped him up on an interview that she put on TikTok, I think, or I don't know if she put it on TikTok or if the News and Observer put it on TikTok, but it was pretty spicy.
Well, yeah, he's gotten a lot of people. I mean, it's so bad that people on his own side are coming out. We talked about Carla Cunningham, one of the reps there in Mecklenburg County, that alleges that McFadden threatened her about, imagine this, voting on a bill that would force him to follow federal law and honor ICE detainers.
To forcing him to do his job? You would think?
Patently ridiculous, but this is how important doing his job is. This is just today. This guy is being held right now and illegal, okay? Here are his charges. By the way, he's been deported and re-entered the country again, this son of a bitch. Sex offense with a child. 2 counts of indecent liberties with a child, personal property, domestic violence assault on a female, battery of an unborn child. I guess the female might have been pregnant, communicating threats, breaking and entering. So these are this is just from today. Okay.
I'm only laughing because the descriptor on that guy, I think he's the one that had blonde hair, strawberry blonde hair in the descriptor.
No, it's this one. It's
okay.
This guy is a strawberry blonde haired white man. In case you did not know, but this is another illegal, a son of a bitch.
There he is.
Okay. He shot and killed 2 teenagers, 16 and 15 years old, in Charlotte. These are just 2 from today. So let me just take you back. This Democrat sheriff refuses to cooperate with ICE, so much so that he allegedly called and threatened a sitting lawmaker. He's in a lot of trouble for that, by the way, to not cooperate so he can let the 3 dirtbags that we've shown you back out on the street. This guy who killed a beautiful 15-year-old, just release him.
That's crazy.
Well, this is what we're up against.
What's interesting, I don't know, did you see Trump today where he said, I'm not giving sanctuary cities any money?
Yeah.
But you know that it's not, Charlotte itself doesn't say they're a sanctuary city. Mecklenburg County does.
Right. So that's what I wondered. Is he saying sanctuary county or city?
I think, my opinion.
Or is there a difference? Yeah.
There may not be a difference, though. You know what I mean? I'm hoping there's not a difference.
I'll tell you, he's not going to make a difference for Charlotte. Charlotte is on the Trump administration's radar, and for good reason, because look, in the specter of all of this, 16 main states have this Tren de Aragua, Venezuela, horribly vicious group. Charlotte's one of them.
Yeah.
So while all this is going on, this gang, this very violent gang, has proliferated here, settling in Charlotte. Now, this is what the Democrats, and I'm going to warn you. Now, look, I'm warning everybody. I want everybody to know, if you're a Republican voter and you just don't vote in the primaries and you just don't vote in the midterms,
you get what you don't vote for.
Let me tell you what you don't vote for. These are the following 2 bills the Democrats in North Carolina have proposed in the state house, and they will pass it if they control the House. This is number 1, prohibiting law enforcement and ICE to go into churches, schools, and hospitals. So those criminals I just showed you, it would allow them to hide with sick people, old people, and children.
Yeah. I don't understand. I mean, I think they said that the left or the Democrats are at the lowest point. Well, we know that in North Carolina, but overall in the country, they have the lowest approval rating they've ever had, and they still continue. And in this state, we've had a historical high of Republicans. It's crazy to me that they will continue down this road.
I mean, they are literally, it didn't used to be this way 20, 25 years ago. No one put politics above. I mean, Bill Clinton was for closed borders. I mean,
Yeah.
He was for, law and order relative to what we're seeing.
I don't think what we have in North Carolina is North Carolinians doing this, though.
Well, you're getting a lot of New Yorkers. By the way, if you're in New York City and thinking about moving here, you better make sure you vote right. Yeah, you better make sure you vote right. This is the second Democrat-sponsored bill that I'm telling you guys, they will push through if they get control of the General Assembly. House Bill 80 is going to prohibit law enforcement to go to farms, agricultural sites, packing houses, and construction sites. Now,
well, pretty much they're going to be everywhere.
Yeah. Well, so, I'm not sitting here and saying, yes, they should be rated and blah, blah, blah.
No.
That's another matter. But I'm saying that if violent gangs know they can go somewhere and hide out and not be apprehended, that's where they're going to go.
And why wouldn't they? I mean, listen, what we witnessed under the Biden administration is they came through the Raleigh-Durham Airport. They came through the Charlotte Airport, and they scurried to all parts of North Carolina. We saw it. We saw it with our own eyes.
And we don't know where they are, by the way.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting to me was seeing the flights go from Charlotte and Raleigh to New Hanover County. And we've seen an uptick in illegal crime down there as we saw them enter that area.
Correct. Now, I hear the dumbest arguments on X. I think the dumbest arguments ever can be found probably on the platform. But,
they love to argue with you, though.
They love to argue with me. And I'll throw them a bone every now and then. But I find that dumbest arguments are like, well, we have murderers. We are everywhere. There's going to be murderers. Right. But see, there's this thing in law called if not for. If not for those three dirtbags coming into this country, Americans would be alive right now.
True. Fact check true. And those are just the crimes they caught them doing, because those are the kind of people that are violent criminals that will get away with things until they get caught.
Right. They leave a string of victims everywhere.
Correct.
And a lot of times the victims are in their own communities who are here legally. Maybe some of them aren't, but it's very tragic. Again, these thugs target women and children predominantly. So check this out. This is what the Republicans had passed, thank God. And this is what Carla Cunningham voted for, to her extreme credit. This is what we have, Border Protection Act. So, and this is law, by the way, you guys. This is law thanks to Republicans. Mandates, can you imagine, state and local law enforcement to cooperate with ICE.
Which we still see they're not doing in Charlotte.
Correct. And it prevents UNC system from adopting sanctuary policies to harbor illegals.
Which they're still doing. Which they're still doing.
I hope not. I hope not. I have not heard of that, but I hope not. And this is what Homeland Security put out there. And it's one of his best policies that people actually like.
Mm-hmm. It's a winning policy for rural and suburban and urban Americans. That's why, because everybody's covered.
Well, yeah. I mean, let's just talk about the branding, and they deserve it. The branding that Democrats should get. So Roy Cooper, while in office, vetoed 3 bills that would have prevented murders that we saw. And then Stein is up to 2. He vetoed that good sense Republican bill I just put up. He vetoed that.
Yeah.
So,
but he's trying to put in his own bill right now to help the corrections officers, and like he says it's a crime and safety bill, but he's just Roy Cooper's pet. We know that.
Tell me about that bill.
Well, the bill I only read the top line of it, and it's the safety measures really are giving more budget. Of course, it's all about money because that's how Josh Stein works. He wants more budget for corrections officers. He wants more budget for the interior of the safety system, but he talks nothing about the victims, making sure that the DAs and the courts are doing their job.
So let me get this straight. He's advocated as early as last week that murderers, that murderers and violent people should not be in jail. So he argued that last week. Right. And now he's arguing for more money to go into the jails. Which is it?
Right.
If the jails aren't going to have anyone in them, then why do you want our taxpayer dollars? But look, thank God for Trump. Thank God we've got a man in office who is helping us. He's not only helping us close the borders and defunding sanctuary cities. Let's talk about this Project Firewall again. It's where multi-system, Department of Labor, DOJ, ICE, they're all going to work to target some of these employers that are abusing the visa system.
Not just the visa system. They're going to mandate the E-Verify system, which should have been mandated prior.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, stronger penalties for non-compliance. To be fair, I think they're probably going to go after first big companies, known offenders, things like that.
Right. The ones that advertise overseas to bring H-1B visa holders over and pay their way. And part of that is why, and honestly, it makes perfect sense. If you could put an American in the job, why would you be advertising for overseas? That would be a question that should be asked. Did you have any potential candidates that are American that could do that job?
And where did you advertise it? Because a lot of times people will advertise in some obscure newspaper that no one's heard of and say, okay, I tried to get an American here, but I couldn't.
Absolutely correct. And the other part that they're doing is they'll literally say, this job is for an H-1B visa holder. Now, they're not going to be able to say that now because Trump's onto them, but as recent as last week, they were.
Interesting. So this is another former tech worker and can't even get a job interview these days. That's a big problem. There's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with the visa program, not as it is now. It's being extremely abused to the extreme.
I agree with you, Sloan. I think that we really need to be able to, listen, if you do an internal hire and you can't find a candidate, normally you have to say, I had no candidates that were qualified, and you have to hit a percentage. It has to be about 70%. They have to hit 70% qualifications to really do the job. But if you are out there and you're not doing a good job looking for candidates in the country or in your area so you can hire from outside the country, that's nuts.
Or turning away a guy like this that has 20 years of experience but can't even get an interview, which is really unheard of because 5 years ago, I mean, these positions, you couldn't fill them fast enough. So do you think that we have oversaturated the market with foreign workers and now we can't hire American?
No, I think that under the covers, there's still DEI policies in effect. And once again, I'll go back and say, if you can do 70% of the job qualifications, which most people that worked at IBM or, who have these qualifications, there's no reason they cannot reskill. There's absolutely no reason.
Yeah, no, this is interesting. And I think that this visa issue has become a hot issue in politics because, a lot of people, I mean, we've heard over the years that, employees like this guy have to train their own replacement and then who comes from another country and then they're out on their own. So I think between, our state laws being enforced, which I'd like to see our Department of Labor be a little bit more proactive. I'll be honest. I don't know if that's within the law or not, but Trump with this Project Firewall, but we need to see results. So I heard about the program 2 months ago. I haven't really seen how it's going to be deployed, but we need results on this one.
Absolutely. I think that's a defining moment in the election cycle, actually, to see results. One, in immigration, the 100,000 visas, being revoked. 2, in seeing American workers come back and have, decent jobs. And 3, seeing prices go down so Americans can live comfortably. I think those are the 3 top issues. Well, safety comes along with, getting rid of some of these folks. I would say the immigration, ICE, safety issue, I'll lump that in one.
But I want to tell you how voters see things. This is a part of cognitive psychology. Voters will see their school or their town as being safe and crime as a national problem. And
Right.
that's probably why you saw Charlotte Mecklenburg vote. Well, that doesn't even make sense because Charlotte Mecklenburg voters have it in their state or in their area and they can feel it. So that wouldn't explain that. But a lot of times people will think, oh, and that's, by the way, that's really what motivates us to cover these stories. We want you to understand that this ICE problem, right, isn't only in Minnesota. We're having the same problems right here. Speaking of Minnesota, we've been continuously covering this this justifiable, I believe, self-defense act that was taken by an ICE officer in Minnesota. But whoops, let's remove this and put this one up. Whoops. Okay, hold on. See, we have to prove that we're not AI and make a mistake every now and then. So the National Fraternal Order Police today came out and said, we're going to stand by this action. We believe it was self-defense. Talk about how much this credibility this gives.
Well, really the country's torn. Locally, I see it torn. Even within positions like, police officers. I've happened to be watching a local board that they don't know I'm on with police officers on it. And I would say it's 70-30, maybe right in that, where 70% say this was right and 30% are leftists who really just can't see it. And some of them are just really legitimately, they think it was the wrong thing to do. But the goal of what that memo states is we're standing behind the police officer. We're going to stand behind this and we're going to wait, and see what the I think they've already said, he's immune. I heard that today.
I mean, he had no duty to, when he watched that, he had no duty to retreat. I mean, yes, a lot. I mean, this is hotly contested. I almost think it's like a Rorschach. If you support Trump, you're going to think it's justifiable. And if you don't support him, you're not going to.
Yeah, I think the concern there is like, what about affiliates? Where do they fall in there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I have to tell you, I don't think they like it.
Well, I'm kind of in agreement with you. That's why I brought it up. I mean, I honestly feel like there's a lot of people that look at this policy along with what's going on with people being pulled out and put away. And I think that it makes them very uncomfortable. Now, I'm not talking about my community because we're all, hell yeah, let's go. But I don't live in Minnesota and I don't live in some of the areas. Like I heard in Louisiana, they were cheering them on, right? Well, Louisiana's kind of red, except New Orleans, right? So it kind of depends on where you're at. But the perspective the news is giving it is really creating a lot of the buzz.
Well, they're doing the Ohio mom was shot.
Right.
And, we live in this world. You can't rail against the media. The media just is. And knowing that they're going to come up with headlines like, then what I think is maybe we just, we continue to do what we do and we do more of showing, hey, here are the dirtbags they're taking off the street. I don't know if people have a full concept of that. And continue to say, no, they're raping children. They are killing people. I mean, we just talked about 3 murders in the last week by illegals in Charlotte.
And we haven't touched on what's going on in Buncombe County, which they're just as bad up there, or down at the coastline, because I saw one in Pender County. I think you might have seen that one. Yeah. So we're not trying to keep it centered on Charlotte. I just want to say that, or Mecklenburg. If there's so much of it, right, you cover what you get when you get it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is what's happening. So we want you guys to know what's happening in your backyard, so that you understand this. I mean, look, elections have consequences, and let's talk about the sheriff elections, because we just talked about a reprobate sheriff in Charlotte. But when you look at Charlotte, North Carolina has 100 counties, and 70 of them have a Republican sheriff. And 30 of them were just wrong. I'm joking. But 30% have Democrats. And in every county during the midterms, all 100 are up for re-election.
Yeah, one resigned today. One resigned. I can't remember what county it is. I'd have to look it up. But he resigned because he endorsed a Democrat. And he was a Republican, and the GOP had such a fit, the sheriff resigned.
Do we know where?
I can look it up for you. I saw it this afternoon, but I noticed that it's really close to election. Obviously, he's not running again, but he endorsed a Democrat, and obviously he is what I read in the comments about it was he's kind of Democrat-y anyway, and they weren't very happy with him, especially during COVID. They didn't like his policies. So I'll look it up while we move along real fast.
If you weren't right on COVID as a sheriff, then we got a problem with you. Okay, so there's a few. I mean, I'm going top of the line here. A few that
Randolph
could
County.
wait. Greg,
Randolph
hold on.
County.
Greg Siebold. Wait, Greg Siebold.
Yep. Chose to resign in disgrace after endorsing a Democrat candidate.
What? Oh my God, Greg, you're a friend of mine. I'm going to call your ass as soon as we get. I was just talking about you yesterday. How could you do that to me?
It says, do you want me to read it to you? It says last night, the Randolph County Sheriff, Greg Siebold, chose to resign in disgrace after endorsing a Democrat. Greg Siebold will face no accountability within the Randolph County GOP for endorsing a candidate from the party of killing babies, opening borders, and releasing criminals back on the street.
I'm going to tell everybody something right now. He was next on my list to call because I am going up to DC with some others to talk about school violence. And I was asked to get another sheriff to come with us. And I thought about calling Greg. Now I'm going to call Sam Page, right? But guess what, Greg? The last person I'm going to bring up to the damn administration is your ass. I can't believe you would do that.
I'm sorry to shock you on the news, but in another way, but I'm kind of glad I did. I mean, in a way, it's good that we get this out in a live audience. So I just happened to see it on Facebook, and I know you're not a big Facebooker.
I'm not, but wow. Okay. Well, you know what? In real time, I just realized that I'm not going to make a call. Okay. So anyway, weird. Okay. So let's talk about a couple of races. First of all, this is kind of wild. So the current sheriff, Brian Maines in Allegheny, longtime sheriff, he's retiring. And a Republican is the only guy running.
Oh,
Shane.
really?
Shane's kind of a handsome guy. Shane could be on one of these shows like Texas Ranger or something like that. Shane, if you're watching, you are right out of Central Casting, my friend.
Well, what's interesting, that's where Butch Cons is from, Allegheny County. And I think he really liked that sheriff. He thought he was a very fair-minded individual. But we'll have to get his take on the new sheriff candidate.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. We've got a Republican running against a Democrat in Caswell. So Tony Durden,
real Republican?
Well, you know what? Yes, I believe this one is. Okay. And then we have one. Now I'm going to get on to you, Robin. Buddy's the sheriff now. Let me tell you what I had to do to find Robin Lyles. Robin, you're running for sheriff, and I'm about to give you the business. I had to go to your wife's Facebook account to get your picture, my friend.
Well, I don't know if you know the history of Madison County. Madison County is barely Republican. They turned the corner during the 2020 election. We've tried to keep them as red as we can. They've been found by transplants. It's a very tenuous time in Madison County. Their GOP chair just resigned, so there's a lot of turnover there, and we need to get up and help Robin.
Robin, I'm going to tell you something. If I have to search down wasn't on your Facebook page, you don't have a picture out there. I mean, your ass is nowhere, my friend, nowhere. And I had to find your wife and cut her out of the picture of y'all at the beach to find who you were.
But you can come on the show. We'll talk to you.
If you get away, I'm going to tell you what, Robin, if website, or how about this? Let's just start low. You get a Facebook page with your freaking picture on there.
How about Bellatopia? How about just using Bellatopia so we know you're on
there? No. Let's go a little bit. Let's go to Facebook.
Okay.
If we're embarrassing, let's step it up a little bit. You need please don't make us look through your wife's picture. By the way, y'all have some cute grandkids. But anyway, don't make me look through your wife's stuff.
One more thing about Madison County, that's the home of Mars Hill University, Mars Hill College, which used to be a Baptist college. It's very, very liberal now, which is a shame, but that's another concern in Madison County, and that's in my district, just so you know, Sloan. So there's a couple of counties that I'm concerned about. Madison is one, Haywood is another. I'm deeply concerned about those two counties actually turning blue, and I might tell you that I'm a little tiny bit concerned about Henderson County.
I don't want to hear that. I'm
just
you're
telling you
black,
that.
you're blackpilling the hell out of me tonight.
Well, I'm just telling you the GOP is not doing a good job here.
Okay. That I don't like.
They need to, there's no reason for that candidate in a district to not have some support from the GOP at the district level to help him get advertising out there so we can keep our counties red.
Okay. Well, I just got someone into trouble. And that's the way it has to be. So let's talk about, speaking of
trouble,
derelict Democrats, which I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying any of these current sheriffs who are Democrats are derelict. I am saying, though, Josh Stein, Roy Cooper, and the lawmakers that put up that law are. And so I want to play for you under the watch of Roy Cooper and Josh Stein. Here's what's going on.
State doesn't revoke commercial drivers.
Hold on. Again, we have to prove that we're actual normal. Okay.
Commercial driver's licenses granted to unqualified immigrants. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy writing, quote, North Carolina's failure to follow the rules isn't just shameful, it's dangerous. I'm calling on state leadership to immediately remove these dangerous drivers from our roads and clean up their system. The push comes after the DOT found that of the 50 North Carolina immigrant CDLs they reviewed, 54% of them were issued illegally.
Okay, let me tell you something.
I don't like the way she said that.
I don't either. But I'm going to tell you something, Governor, if you're listening, and I think you just might be. You only have a few departments, a few agencies you're in charge of, and thank goodness that the GOP took some away from you. But you can't even. It's not actually that funny.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. I mean, we have, by the way, around here, because we're in politics, we have something called gallows humor.
Oh, it's like being a nurse. You have the sick humor that you just can't. You just can't. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, 54%. That is the fact that we haven't seen more fatalities is by the grace of God.
But the way she said it, 54% of 50% of the illegal drive, that's not what happened. But okay, lady.
Well, here's what they did. They took, what you do to see if something's foul, right? You'll take a sample size. Yeah, random sample, and there's 50. 54% of that sample is corrupt. So you would extrapolate it to the entire, in science, that's what you do.
She could have said more than half.
Are we those girls tonight?
I must be that girl. Anyway, go ahead.
If we're gonna be those girls, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take credit for my little artwork up here.
How do
you like that little fella? A CDL requires a medical card. Oh, Carol, I'm glad you mentioned that. I don't even know if I
had to have a medical card.
Well, damn, Carol, I'm going to get you to co-author my next story because I wrote in our story that we had on this one. Whoops, not that one. I wrote in our Substack, which thank you. I had 7,000 readers of this one today. So look, here are the steps. You need identity verification. Okay. How'd they get that without a government ID?
Well, I think the same with driver's licenses, honestly.
Okay, so how'd they get that? You know what? You're right. There is a lot more traffic with that. So you're right. Okay, expiration tied to legal status, English language ability. Well, how are they doing that?
Written tests and behind the wheel demonstrations.
These are the steps.
How are they taking that test if they don't speak English?
Right. So we can see right here, there's a couple of things where they would not have been able to pass. Exactly. And now we're also finding problems with voting tied to the licensure, which we've always said. Carol, you had your physical today. I want to tell everybody else, because we're talking about a health story next. Have your yearly physical.
I got mine last week.
Well, I was talking to myself. I haven't had one. Well, yeah, I did actually the other day, kind of. All right. They get Medicaid. They go to the doctor. They fill out their form. I'm telling you, Tammy, it's going to be like a Clockwork Orange type of triggering for us when you talk about foreign doctor and Medicaid. So tonight, let's keep it
Let's keep it on task.
Yeah, we're going to keep it on the road. A pun. But look, I mean, you can see, look, at various stages, how in the hell did they get this?
Well, and their CDL is to what must expire when the person's lawful presence expires. Well, if you're not legal,
How
what does that mean?
How do they know?
Listen, I have said before, and I'll say it again, the DMV is corrupt as all get out. I believe that with my whole heart.
Yeah, there's a lot of forms to be filled out. Oh, Carol says just for the medical alone. So, and we do, you know what we need? I wrote this article and I've asked for this, that everyone call their state rep. We need an oversight hearing that can be done by the General Assembly immediately. People need to be called in immediately. We need an audit from Dave immediately on this.
Well, they brought the DMV in when they had long lines here, but they need to bring them back in and let's do an audit of the actual CDLs and also driver's license. Let's do some auditing.
Damn it.
We're going to add an extra syllable in there.
Just like Medea does.
We've
got some auditing. There's no reason for it. But I tell you what, you take your ass up to the DMV and you have a slightly wrong document or not the whatever it is, or if there's something illegible that you're supposed to have a power bill or what, they will, after 9 hours in line, they have no problem sending you back home to come back in a month to get your damn thing renewed.
They did that to the poor guy behind me. They wouldn't take it on the phone. He had to have a paper copy and it had to have his son's name on the insurance. He was turning 16. I felt so bad for them.
Yeah, after waiting in line for
4 hours.
Right. Yeah. It's ridiculous. So another story that we dropped today was this. Did you hear about the new food pyramid?
I'm so excited about the new food pyramid. Kind of I'm not, because I love bread, but that's a whole nother story. But it goes hand in hand with, we were on with Dr. Berry many, months ago on a Saturday. He graced us with his presence, which I super appreciate. And he was, talking about how the carnivore diet is really where it's at. And look what's on the food pyramid.
Top of the line
meat
is going to be meat products,
protein
meat products. That's right. And so when we look at this and we talk about the protein farming here, I don't know if you guys know what a big deal this actually is. So our state leads the nation in poultry production. More than 900 million broilers and 29 million turkeys are sold per year. And that's we don't even have the marketing in place yet for this new food pyramid.
Well, and it's not just turkey. We got pork too. And I think the other thing that isn't really said about this is that, recently, and Massey was the one who really wanted this, that you could have your local packing house instead of having to have all these USDA centralized places. You could use your local packing house. This food pyramid actually goes hand in hand with, local, buy local.
Right.
Dairy, buy local meat products.
Right. Your eggs, your chickens, all of that. So look, our state leads the nation in poultry production. I told you that already. Protein farming overall in this state, 1.8 billion in income taxes it generates. So this is a lot of revenue.
Georgia are going to argue with you, but we're going to win.
I mean, well, okay. So, look, that's income for, can you imagine doubling that? That would be great. And 379 million of that comes, to your point, from pork.
Right. We are, I think, the largest pork producer in the country, or the second largest behind Iowa. I can't remember, but close, very close.
Yeah. Yeah. So, this is, of course, you can argue about it, but chronic health conditions are linked to processed food, too many carbs, etc. So in addition to, cutting out, things like diabetes, I mean, a lot can be linked to that, right? To eating poorly.
Yep.
This is going to have a good bottom line benefit for us. So.
And eggs, we got to put the eggs in there, because they're the big deal because they were so high under Biden. And now, eggs have come down and they're a good source of protein.
A lot of people literally bought chickens, even living in the city when the egg prices went up.
I thought about doing it. I'd have to say they were wild because we can't have chickens in the city town limits, but wild chickens, you just never know.
You can have them in my town and it's the city. So that's weird.
I know. Isn't that whack? That's wackadoodle.
Yeah. But yeah. Okay. So here's really what it does. More demand. It's going to generate more demand because, of course, this is going to be taught now in medical school. So for the first time ever, future doctors are going to be trained on this new food pyramid. That's great. So people are going to be telling their patients to eat the right thing rather than eating the wrong thing. More jobs and tax dollars. We could always use that. So for once a federal policy comes down and it benefits us greatly, that doesn't always happen. But lately with Trump, a lot of his stuff has been very beneficial for us, including the immigration stuff. So your favorite story, you wanted to talk about this, the new CPI numbers. Tell us.
I honestly feel like that, we were talking about what the major voting issues are. And I do believe this is a major voting issue. The fact that eggs are down 20.9%, almost 21%, 9% on dairy, 1.57% on appliances, 3.4% on airfare, 3.4% on gas. And I think gas is going to go down even lower. I think people who day to day are just trying to make it, when their fuel cost is lower, when their cost for food is lower, they start feeling a little easier about things and may use it in the voting booth.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree. And the reason why, I know you just feel that about me tonight, right? I'm just a bit, confrontational. I think that the price of healthcare and the price of housing is really overshadowing this stuff, because I'm telling you that the healthcare prices is slamming people. And so a lot of people don't feel the kind of relief they should. What do you think?
I'm not saying that we're there yet, right? We've made some improvements, but I agree with you on some parts of that. For specifically, healthcare is a big deal. And I want to just talk about that for a second, because in the last 3 days, I've seen a lot of articles about housing and healthcare. Well, actually, housing specifically when it relates to millennials and how it's unaffordable and unattainable. But nobody talks about what seniors have to go through for health.
No, I'm tired of the discussion of young people. In the Republican Party, I don't know who came up with this idiotic prototype, okay, of we're supposed to get young people's vote, the swath of voters that never vote. And they're looking for only young men under 40. And they're targeting all their messages there. And they're creating some poor avatar of a man who's struggling to grow up. By the way, it doesn't help when they call 40-year-old men kids. But they're a struggling man who can't pay his bills, can't do this. Why is that different from 20 years ago? Because it's not. It's not.
And here's the thing. Like, I usually love Unusual Whales. They're a pretty good account. But, he made a post the other day, and he was talking about how millennials have it so much worse. Well, I did the math, man. If you're an older millennial, you're between 35 and 40 years old. And if you've been in corporate America, let's say since you were 21 in some capacity, and you haven't, really taken the benefit of the 401k that you have in front of you, which would have $1.3 million or more in it, depending on your salary, I really don't want to hear it, because the laws were changed so that you could take one dip out of there, penalty free, to buy a house. No, to buy a house. You can dip it out to buy a house.
Well, we're kind of pivoting the conversation, but it does get to some of the mistakes I think the GOP is making. There's some messaging coming from a certain sector of our party that is like, hey, young men want this, and we have to pivot the entire party to do that. Young men are struggling with this. I'm telling you, if you keep up with that dumbass messaging, we're going to lose everything, because most of our voters don't give a shit about what a 22-year-old young man needs. I'm sorry, but they're raising a family. They are your donors who are older. They can donate. They are your volunteers who are older. That
and they
message
show up at the polls. They show up.
They do. That, of course, we would like young voters, but I can tell you what, if you do what's right for most Americans, that raises all boats. But this argument of, wow, we've got to stretch out housing payments for 50 years because 22-year-old men need to buy.
Thing I've ever heard. Give the banks more, 100 million, $1 million more dollars. Like they think that's the other part. I think the largest conversation we're talking about here when it comes to inflation is actuarying. People don't know how to actualize their money and compound it out. And that, that's a skill that I think every kid should know. I know we're way off track here, but it is important when we talk about tariffs and money and how the inflation is happening.
But look, if you say now it's harder for a 25-year-old to buy a house than it was 20 years ago. Look at all the incidentals and the shit that people are paying for without even noticing it. That was never there 20 years ago. Now people wouldn't think of starting their day without a $5 cup of coffee, right? The web fees they're paying for voluntarily. So look at all of that they're accumulating just to have a better way of life. It's probably upwards of $500 a month extra that they're not even paying attention to.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because I read the article from, I believe it was a Carolina Journal, but they talked about this specifically. They, of course, didn't mention any of the things that cost seniors because they're just really pity for the young people, right? But what it did say in there is that the highest expense for a younger person is eating out. Well, learn how to cook. Yeah. Learn how to cook.
Right. I mean, that's true. Now, instead of going out once or twice a week for dinner, people are going out to lunch every single day. That's $20. Right. So the cost of convenience has gone up because society is doing more of those gym memberships. I have 3 of them. I use 2 of them. Right. I mean, because they're, hey, $40 a month. $40 a month. You don't even notice it. And so people are, I'm just telling you.
Yeah, I know.
And so getting back to the election, if we keep messaging on that, we're in big trouble.
Right. So, I agree with you that I think we can't over-index on that.
Yeah. Uber Eats. Do you know I have never paid for Uber Eats or Grubhub? And I'm going to tell you who gave me a hard time. When you and I were in DC last year, and I said, it's 12 degrees outside and I have to walk and go get toothpaste. And I was mad. You looked at me angrily and said, why don't you just Uber Eats it? And I'm like,
Uber it.
I said, what are you talking about? Well, if you need something, just call Uber and go tell them to get. Angela, I didn't
even know you could do that.
Angelina, Carol, I had no concept of that. I was so frustrated because I wanted Margot to explain. I'm like, could you explain to me what that meant? She thought I was from another planet.
Just to be fair, I don't even have Uber here. We don't have Uber Eats here. So when I'm in a big city and I have to get something, I take advantage of the opportunity. Mind you, it was 12 degrees.
It was 12 degrees, but mind you, the drugstore was across the street. I did it and I lived through it. But
you did.
So even
Margot, I'm still hearing about it. I'm just kidding.
I don't think I brought it up until now.
I'm just joking.
I don't think I brought it up until now, but
it's funny. So, speaking of, that was at CPAC. We got to talk about whether we're going to go to CPAC or not soon.
Yes, we do. So lastly, and we're going to finish up a little bit early, but what was at SCOTUS today? The hearing.
I did. And Peyton McNabb, our hero here from North Carolina, was there, and Riley Gaines. And it was a very interesting conversation from the snippets that I got. I'm not sure what you heard, but I think Judge Alito probably had the leading question.
Still can't define what a woman is.
Yeah, it's just really kind of sad to me that, first of all, Ketanji Brown she's an embarrassment. But I'm not really thrilled with Amy Coney Barrett either.
Yeah.
She kind of sounded She called them trans kids. I'm like, wait a minute.
So she called a man a trans woman, and there is no such thing as a trans woman. There's a woman and a man. She meant to say a troon.
You need to call her and tell her.
No, I'll put her on the list since Greg Siebold is off of my phone list tonight. I have time to call someone else. But look at what happened. I want to remind everybody what happened when cameras caught up with Roy Cooper, who's running for U.S. Senate, about his wanting men in women's spaces because he.
Yeah. Why do you support men being able to play women's sports?
Can you let me in, please? I'm Roy.
Governor Cooper, why do you support men being able to play women's sports? Governor Cooper, could you please answer the question? Governor Cooper, are there more than two genders? Governor.
He couldn't get his ass out of there quickly enough.
He's such a pansy. First of all, he vetoed that bill for women's the men and women's sports bill, or the women's sports bill. And thank goodness we had a strong Republican legislature that said, oh, hell no. And I want to say special shout out to Jennifer Bolcom from Henderson County, who backed that bill all the way up. We are very proud to have Jennifer Bolcom as part of the community here. We tried to get her on, but she was sick one night. We'll try to get her back on. But, I know she's watching this historical moment because we truly do want to see America safe for our girls to play in sports.
Absolutely. You've got a daughter. You raised a great daughter that has been even a professional athlete. I've got a young daughter that's a serious lacrosse player. Can you imagine what would happen if just one boy got in on either side with a lacrosse stick? And my daughter's 15 years old now. I can't even believe I'm saying it. 15 with a lacrosse stick. The damage that could do to these girls. And people don't think about it until it happens to them. And it's all okay until it happens to them. And then your girl, your daughter that you've paid all this money for, put all this time in, becomes a spectator in her own sport. No.
Well, I just want to say two things. First of all, I completely agree with you. Today's my daughter's birthday, so I want to wish her a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Sheridan. And thank you, Peyton McNabb. Thank you for what you did, what the sacrifice was to do this bill in North Carolina, for making it to SCOTUS, for all that you've done for women, girls and women in sports in North Carolina and across the country. This one's for you. It really is.
Absolutely. Because when you come forward and you show your face and you have a message and you're a woman.
And your dad works in the school system.
That too, you're going to be attacked, and we know what it's all about. So we stand with you. But anyway, thank you very much. Tonight has been great. Thursday night, we are breaking. It's Thursday night. Thursday's going to be big. We're breaking a story from Accuracy in Media. The ones that go undercover and find that, universities are breaking the law with this DEI bull crap. So we'll be breaking the story for them on Thursday morning. And we're going to have Adam from Accuracy in Media. He's going to be on with us on Thursday night. So we're going to have a very big night.
I, unfortunately, will be in New Jersey, or on my way back from New Jersey. So I will have to miss it, but that does not mean I'm not going to tune in if I can on the,
Tune in on the airplane. It'll be worth it.
I'll absolutely try.
It'll be worth it. We're going to have Adam on, and you know me, I'm going to have some guests. I may even invite Eric on.
Eric would be a great guest host.
Hey, we love to cut up together. So we need to be serious. So I don't know, but Eric, I might give you a call.
Maybe we need to check on our boy, Sean, who moved to DC. So at some point you need to drop him in here.
Yep, absolutely. So we'll see you guys Thursday night. Remember, share this with 10 people and have a good one.
Be safe.
Safe travels, Margot.
Thank you.
Bye.
That's a wrap on today's NC Political Tea. We hope you're leaving sharper, spicier, and ready to take on the political craziness in the Tar Heel State. If you loved what you heard, or even if it made you mad, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this show with your friends, family, and that one coworker who just needs the truth. Follow us on social media to stay in the loop and get your daily dose of conservative fire. And remember, here in North Carolina, the grassroots grows stronger when we stand together. Until next time, keep the faith, keep up the fight, and don't let the left water down your tea. This is NC Political Tea, where we spill it like it is.